You'd assume a presidential helicopter is like one of the most secure places on Earth.
Right, you definitely think, though.
But imagine throwing a massive open invite block party and just um, leaving a vault full of cash wide open in your driveway.
Yeah.
Welcome to today's deep dive, by the way.
Yeah, thanks. It's a wild scenario. We're looking at these recent political intelligence reports from Kenya, specifically from April 2026.
Right. And our mission today is to figure out what happens when the very political brand a leader builds, completely compromises their own physical defense.
So the context here is everything. President William Ruto was on this critical tour of the Gusii region.
Which is a major swing area, right?
Exactly. It's a highly contested political swing area. And he arrived armed with this brand new supplementary budget.
Like hundreds of billions of shillings, if I recall?
Yeah, roughly equivalent to billions of US dollars.
Yeah.
And a huge chunk of that was specifically earmarked to woo local teachers.
Okay, so a massive war chest.
Right. The strategy was to project this overwhelming fiscal power and basically neutralize the influence of his main opposition rival, Fred Matiang'i. This is all well ahead of the 2027 elections.
But here's where it gets crazy. He's on the ground, making his pitch. And while he is literally on stage addressing the crowd, robbers breach his helicopter's sterile zone.
Yep, right under their noses.
And they make off with bundles of physical cash. Cash that was intended for, like, grassroots political logistics.
It sounds like a movie plot, honestly.
It really does. And wait, let's unpack this for a second, because I have a hard time wrapping my head around it. Kenya is a global pioneer in mobile money.
Oh, absolutely. Digital banking is everywhere there.
Right. Almost everything can be done via phone. So if the goal is distributing campaign funds, surely a digital transfer accomplishes the exact same thing.
You would think so, yeah.
Without, turning the head of state's chopper into a bank heist target.
Well, a digital transfer makes logical sense, but it fails the political theater test.
The political theater test, what do you mean by that?
So this reliance on physical cash is tied directly to Ruto's hustler brand. In Kenyan politics, that brand is all about championing the informal economy.
Like the bottom-up, man-on-the-street demographic.
Exactly. To maintain that image, the administration pushes what they call an open state house populist doctrine. They enforce a policy of one-on-chi access.
Which means ordinary citizen access.
Right. Breaking down the sterile, traditional barriers of executive power makes the president look like a man of the people. And handing out physical bundles of cash is the tangible, informal lubrication needed to sustain that aesthetic.
Because you can't really photograph a digital wire transfer.
Exactly. The optics just aren't there.
Wow. Okay, so the very doctrine that builds his political capital is what destroys his security. Think about that for a second. When you prioritize ultimate accessibility, you inherently sacrifice defense.
Yeah, it's a direct trade-off.
Whether you're running a country or just your own business. By opening the doors to everyone, you invite the bad actors in too. Where do you draw the line?
And the intelligence reports highlight exactly that vulnerability. This extreme accessibility provides perfect cover for organized tour gangs.
Like those Tokyo mafias they mentioned in the report.
Yeah, groups like the Tokyo Mafia specialize in exploiting the chaos of these unstructured crowds to target executive assets.
Okay, but when a breach like this happens, you would assume heads would roll within the security detail.
You would assume that, yeah. But a recent judicial precedent makes firing anyone incredibly difficult.
Wait, really? How does a court justify reinstating a guard who lost the president's money?
Well, there was an officer terminated for a past instance of losing campaign cash from a helicopter. And he was actually reinstated by the courts after a long legal battle.
That is wild. On what grounds?
It basically comes down to strict labor laws and chain of custody rules. The court's logic was that the environment is inherently chaotic by design.
Oh, because of the open state house policy.
Right, so unless the state can prove beyond a reasonable doubt that a specific officer was directly responsible for a specific bag of cash at the exact moment it vanished, they cannot be fired.
Just for being on duty.
Exactly. The legal threshold for proving gross misconduct in these informal, crowd-heavy environments is just extremely high.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. If the courts prevent the state from firing guards because the environment is too chaotic to prove direct fault, doesn't that create a terrifying moral hazard?
Oh, absolutely it does.
I mean, why would the escort unit risk their lives or even exert maximum effort to guard the helicopter if they know the legal precedent essentially makes them bulletproof from termination.
The deterrence is completely gone. And the Gusii incident proves that relying on liquid cash, combined with extreme populist accessibility and a lack of disciplinary consequences, creates a major strategic vulnerability.
Yeah, you can't maintain the perception of ultimate power if your own transport is being robbed in broad daylight.
By local gangs, no less.
Right, so to wrap this up, we live in an era of digital banking, mobile money, and instantly traceable transactions. Yet, if the highest levels of political power still rely on physical bundles of cash to lubricate grassroots support, it really makes you wonder.
Wonder what?
Where else in our modern hyper-digital world is the analog power of untraceable cash hiding in plain sight? Just something for you to mull over until our next deep dive.